Bassem Razar's home in Mosul, Iraq, was destroyed by an airstrike from the American-led coalition fighting the Islamic State. Giles Price Institute. For the New York Times, listen and subscribe to our podcast from your mobile device via Apple Podcasts, via Radio Public, via Stitcher. The American-led battle against the Islamic State has been hailed as the most precise air campaign in history. But its airstrikes have killed far more Iraqi civilians than anyone has acknowledged. The survivors of those airstrikes have been left wondering why their families were targeted. On today's episode, Bassem Razar, who survived an airstrike on his home in Mosul, Iraq, as Matt Kahn, an investigative reporter who has spent months looking into civilian casualties in the war on the Islamic State. Background reading: The Uncounted, Ms. Kahn and Anand Gopal's magazine story on civilian casualties in Iraq. The number of civilians killed in American-led airstrikes in Iraq and Syria spiked this year, as efforts to retake Islamic State strongholds intensified and as some procedures for approving airstrikes were changed. A Times photographer spent months documenting the battle to recapture Mosul from Islamic State militants. See his reports from the city here. 2 months after the battle to liberate Mosul, much of the city is in ruins. The city has turned its attention to recovering the bodies buried in the rubble to return them to their families. Tune in, and tell us what you think. Email us at thedaily@nighttimes.com. Tweet me at @MickeyBarb. And if you're interested in advertising with The Daily, write to us at thedailyAds@nighttimes.com. How do I listen? If you don't see an audio player on this page or to subscribe to The Daily for free, follow the instructions below. From your mobile device you can listen and subscribe to The Daily from any podcast player. If you're reading this from an iPhone or other Apple mobile device, tap this link to listen in Apple Podcasts. If you're on an Android device, tap this link to listen in Stitcher or this link to listen in Radio Public. Or if you prefer another podcast player, you can find The Daily there. Here's the RSS feed. From a desktop or laptop, click the play button above to start the show. Make sure to keep that window open on your browser if you're doing other things, or else the audio will stop. You can always find the latest episode at nighttimes.com. The Daily. On Amazon Echo. Echo Dot atop, open the Alexa app. From the navigation panel on the left, select Settings, then Flash Briefing, then Get More Flash Briefing content. Look for The New York Times, and select Enable Skill. Now you can say, "Alexa, what's my flash briefing?" and you will hear that day's episode of The Daily. On Google Home you can say, "Okay, Google, play New York Times," to listen to that day's episode of The Daily. As Matt Kahn contributed reporting. The Daily. Theo Balcomb, managing producer, Christopher Worth, senior producer Annie Brown, producer Lindsay Garrison, producer Rachel Quester, producer Sam Dolnick, contributing editor Peter Sale, engineer NYT Audio Lisa Tobin, executive producer Samantha Hennig, editorial director